Oh, thank you for having me back, Mel. It's always an honor to be here.
Oh, it's always an honor to have you. Now, I wanted to start off with something I found very interesting. So, there's a document going around right now by our FBI, a 2024 assessment of domestic terror, red flag and words. Again, they've done this before.
This is so very concerning, Mel, because, and I think we're going to talk about this more, but they are going to be surveilling us on every aspect of our lives, including what we post on social media, whose show we watch, whose show we appear on. I'm sure that you and I are, high on their list, okay? And this is a way of silencing all opposition. And it's completely unconstitutional. It is completely against our right to free speech. And there's a religious component to this also. I don't know if you probably do recall, but in January of last year, there was an FBI memo that was unearthed coming out of the Virginia office where they characterized traditional Latin Mass Catholics as potential domestic terrorists.
Right.
Because of their belief in, pro-life and pro-family, etc. These are contrary to the WHO agenda, and anybody who disagrees with them is going to be characterized as a domestic terrorist, which is going to take a lot of our rights away and put us in extreme danger. Oh, Mel, it is really hard to break through, but I want to warn people about something, which is we have all been aiming towards this meeting of the UN, which is on September 21st to 22nd of this year, but they are preempting us, okay? So there are 3 documents that came out, as you know. There's the Pact for the Future, there is the Declaration on Future Generations, and there's the Global Digital Compact. And the Pact for the Future just came out like 2 days ago with a new version. It's called Revision 3, and the Pact for the Future and the Declaration on Future Generations and the Global Digital Compact are all under this thing called a silence procedure. And that silence procedure ends on September 3rd, not September 21st, September 22nd. So if no one objects, then they will be deemed to have passed. Now, the Declaration on Future Generations, there was a breaking of the silence procedure, but they are so opaque. I've heard through people who would know that they've actually come up with another draft that addresses the objections so that they're again under the silence procedure, but they have not posted that. We don't know where we are because they are deliberately opaque, but this is coming down way faster than we thought it was. Right, so this is the thing, that the whole COVID thing was just like a dress rehearsal where they started to build the infrastructure. And as you and I have discussed, I think in our last interview, the World Health Organization, on June 1st, they passed these amended international health regulations, which have in them, baked into them, this universal interoperable digital ID. Now, it can be paper or digital at the discretion of the country, but of course, our country under Biden is going to make it digital. Right. And these things are further exemplified. They're furthered in these UN documents as well. Yeah. So there's the Global Digital Compact, okay, which is an annex to the Pact for the Future, which calls for everybody to. There's a massive data gathering, not just of people, but of everything, the climate and everything else, all interoperable, all international. And what's going to happen is the implementation, and this, I've been saying this for years, the implementation of a Chinese-style social credit system where those people who go against, their narrative are going to be, as we said in the beginning, categorized as potential domestic threat actors or terrorists. This is so frightening and so grave, Mal, and I really appreciate your knowledge about it and the way that you're getting the message out. So I was in a webinar last week, I think it was, with Nigel Farage from England, and he made a very interesting comment. He said that after the 2 devastating world wars on European soil, the United Nations arose with the idea that it was the nation states, that it was nationalism that causes war that causes poverty, etc., so that, he said, the United Nations was established with the idea in mind of abolishing the nation state. That was like its original impetus.
Right.
And so here we are. That's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen to America? I mean, we are absolutely exceptional. We are the only ones that have, the Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, our Constitution. Like you said, the United States is standing in the way between the globalists and their global control. Right. And globalists come from different directions. They come from, the European, WEF and the United Nations, and also the Chinese Communist Party. And I feel like they're conspiring together. They both want to bring us down, and then they figure they're going to, have it out together. Who's going to end up on top? And as the two of them, I think the Chinese Communist Party is going to end up on top. But this is a very, very threatening situation. It is coming down very quickly. Everybody's distracted by the election. I mean, there's so much going on in the election. But there's something that is, I'm not going to say it's more important than the election, because I think that who gets elected, I think that if Trump gets elected, we will have a fighting chance. Yeah. Right. Well, I think that the mainstream media is compromised.
Me too.
And yeah, what this is we're going to give however many millions or trillions to the United Nations and to the WHO, et cetera. And the pretext is going to be either we need to help the developing nations and the poor people there, or we need to combat climate change, whatever. That money is never, I just can't imagine that money is ever going to make it, or 90% of that money is ever going to make it down to people who actually need it. Right. And I think the whole climate change thing is just is a pretext. But I think that money is going to go into the pockets of the oligarchs. I'm very concerned about that. And that what they're trying to do is basically establish like a neo-feudal society, where you've got these oligarchs who think, they think that they're superior. They think they're superior. Okay, the most charitable interpretation is that they think that they are superior and that they can run our lives better than we can run our own lives, and therefore we want them to run our lives. We just don't quite know it yet. Right. Okay, good. So that's charitable. The less charitable is that they're a bunch of psychopath, megalomaniacs who just are trying to find a way that we will accept, like this is for your own good, in order to take away every liberty that we have. Well, that's the whole theory behind Build Back Better. Right. How can you build your house back better, right? Unless it's destroyed. Right. You have to destroy things in order to build them back better. And that's what they're doing. They are piece by piece destroying our society. And then this whole thing about turning people against each other is straight out of the Chinese Communist Party playbook. Right. It's beyond divide and conquer. It's just atomizing society. We saw this in China under the one-child policy, where if a woman was illegally pregnant, she could be ratted out by her family, her friends, her neighbors, her co-workers, people who were just sitting in the villages looking at women's abdomens, and if you looked like you were pregnant, they would grab you over, and if you didn't have your birth permit on you, you'd be taken off for a forced abortion. So what does that do? It creates a situation where you can't trust anyone. And if you can't trust anyone, if you feel totally isolated, then you can't organize for democracy. And they're doing the same thing with the American people. They're dividing us on every possible way, whether it's race, whether it's, gender ideology, whether it is,
anything.
Whether or not
class,
whether you've been vaccinated, class, anything. And they're trying to get us to hate each other. And that's the way that they're going to take us over. Yeah. I have no doubt that the infrastructure in China for the China social credit system was built probably largely with U.S. technology. I agree. Maybe other technologies from other nations as well. And I don't know the extent to which that technology was sold to them by companies who shouldn't be doing things like that, or whether they stole it, which they're also very good at. Right. Okay. And they also do forced technology transfers for companies doing business there. So yeah, I have no doubt that the whole thing, or probably 90% of it, is built using US or other foreign technology. And that that technology is coming to the United States and to the world through the digital ID and vaccine passport. And these things are already being rolled out internationally. And they will be able to track every single thing about you and come up with a score. Now, this score is all this is going to be done through AI. All right. Now, and
so there's no one to talk to. That when they take your taxes out and take 70% of your money, who are you going to call? You know?
But also when they decide that you're a bad girl because you don't agree with them, and so then they shut you off from your bank account or your credit cards, or they do any number of other things that they can do. They can just blame the algorithm. It's like, well, it's not me. It's just the algorithm that is causing me to, take your child away or whatever it ends up being. So it's plausible deniability. But what people don't understand about AI is that it's not neutral. It's being billed as neutral. I mean, these are just algorithms. And these algorithms are fair, and you came up on this algorithm as being, a bad actor, but no, they're not. They reflect the biases and the values and the ambitions of the people who are hiring the programmers to create the AI. Right. And it can be used as a way of, finding domestic threat actors or terrorists based on their religious beliefs, for example. And just something that you posted, something you liked on Facebook or on Twitter, X, Yeah. Well, and then in terms of the idea that, well, this is just the UN. We have a constitution. They have no authority. Okay. Number one, the Constitution is a treasure that was bequeathed to us by the founding fathers, but it's like a sword. Okay. It's something that if we use it to defend ourselves, it will defend us. But if you have a sword and you just put it on the wall and you admire it, it's not going to defend you. You need to learn how to use it, and you need to use it. So the Constitution is not going to protect us if we have leaders who want to abrogate the Constitution, and if we have the regular people who are going to do nothing about it. All right. So that's number one. In terms of the UN's authority, I just want to say that I actually looked through the Pact for the Future and counted 29 times when the words "we decide" were used. In other words, we decide that climate change is the most important thing in the world, and the UN is the center of any response to a complex global shock. We decide this, we decide that, we decide this, we decide that. 29 times. And it's huge who our leaders are. Because the Biden administration and the Biden-Harris, they are 100% behind this stuff. They've already voiced that they completely agree with it. Now, Trump withdrew us from the WHO. He has not spoken about withdrawing us from the UN. Also, I wish he would take a stronger stand on certain things like digital IDs, 15-minute cities. I'm not sure. He hasn't really spoken very much on these things. Yuval Noah Harari, who is the Klaus Schwab's right-hand man of the WHO. I mean, both Klaus Schwab and Yuval Noah Harari have said that, that once we have this great reset, once we have this industrial, this great revolution, that most people are going to be obsolete. Right. Okay. That computers can do our jobs better than we can. And Yuval Noah Harari went so far as to call us useless people. Right. And he said, what are we going to do with all these useless people? I mean, why do we need so many people? He said that.
Oh, he said that's the thing, Reggie, they all say it.
And so what he said, what the plan is, or what his suggestion is to fill us full of drugs and get us to play video games. So that's the future that they see for us. Meanwhile, we're not generating any kind of income. We're just, drugged out playing video games. So it would be very easy and convenient for them, to get rid of us. I mean, that is so desperately short-sighted. I mean, you don't have to like the guy. You don't have to agree with his personality. But, I have to say that when he was shot in the head, okay, and got up and just said, fight, 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 that can't be faked. No. I mean, that covers, to me, that covers a lot of the other problems that people might have with him.
Yeah,
I mean,
and 30% of this country, all the people that are still getting their boosters probably, actually are, even Rosie O'Donnell's out there saying that that didn't really happen, or that Trump staged it for sympathy. A guy died. You know,
that's
two
right.
guys are maimed. It's so crazy.
Right. I mean, yeah, there's no way that this was, I don't even want to discuss
I know,
that.
isn't it? But I'm just saying that those are the people right now.
People died. And he was grazed in the ear. How is he going to stage that? I mean, there was a character that came out of there that I think is admirable. Now, you understand, I'm head of a nonprofit. I'm not backing anybody. I'm not saying who to vote for. I'm saying that was an amazing moment because he knew that he came within an inch of losing his life. And
I
yet,
don't know how you cannot believe in God and watch that. That was a miracle.
That was a miracle.
Miracle.
Absolutely a miracle. Yeah.
And I think a big wake-up call.
I think with better advisors, that he can be, his instincts, I think, are right about globalism. I mean, he did try to withdraw from the WSO. Biden put us right back in. I think that with the right advisors, he will take the right positions on digital ID and also the digitization of money. But with Biden and Harris, or with Harris, there's no chance. There's no chance. Okay, so there's first of all, go onto my website. It's called antiglobalist.net. So the organization is called Anti-Globalist International, and the website is antiglobalist.net. Sign the manifesto there. And when you do that, you will get on my newsletter list, and you will be able to get updates of things that you can do. The most immediate threat, Mel, is the fact that these 3 instruments are under silence procedure. We know 2 of them are, one of them may or may not be. And unless some country objects, then, there's gonna, they'll just pass into law.
Right.
So number one, I am right now, like after I get off this phone call, I am conspiring. I'm coordinating with others to try to get some country to object to these things. So if they do object, then silence is broken, and then there will be a discussion. If these do pass, then there's going to have to be a major push that these are treaties. They're not calling them a treaty. They're calling them a pact. They're calling them a declaration.
Right.
They're calling them a compact. They refuse to call them treaties. They are treaties because they affect our national sovereignty, and that we need to push for them to have to go through the Senate, where hopefully they will not be ratified. It's hard to predict because we don't know who's going to win the election, and the strategy will depend on who that is. But even if Trump wins the election, I want to say right now, it's not time for everybody to say, "Oh, great, Trump won the election. I can relax. I don't want to deal with this anymore. He'll deal with it." Okay, Trump or any other president, they depend on the grassroots to support their strong positions. Right. They're not going to get way out ahead. They're not going to take a position where if they took that position, 60% of the U.S. population would disagree with it. So it's up to us to continue to advocate against the digital IDs, against digitized money, against 15-minute cities, to make it a national issue so that Trump and the governors and our other representatives will be able to take the strong positions that they need to take in order to stop these things. So the work will not be done no matter who is elected. Absolutely right. And, the people who say, well, I don't have anything to hide. Well, number one, you should. I mean, what's wrong with you? Are you like a total sheep that you never do anything?
Right, or that you think it's anyone else's business what you do behind closed doors.
None of their business, even if you have nothing to hide.
Right.
What about your privacy? But beyond that, can you guarantee to yourself that for the rest of your life, you will always agree with everything that the government says, and you will never disagree? And if so, do you think that you have a mind of your own?
Right. All true. Yeah.
And if you do disagree, then you're immediately going to get put onto a list, and bad things are going to start happening to you. And this is a way of creating a completely compliant society that is easily taken over and manipulated. And we Mel, we have to stop it. You know that.